When Pigasso Met Mootise, a story by Nina Layden. Pigasso, Mootise, what kind of animals are we talking about here? Mootise, Pigasso. Let us see. There was once a pig named Pigasso. While the other piglets rolled in the mud and played games, Pigasso painted. He painted anything and everything, and in a most unusual way. Hold on a second now. Have you ever seen a pig painting? I can't remember ever seeing a pig painting. This is a first. At the same time, there was once a young bull named Mootise. Mootise was not like the other bulls. He wasn't interested in bullfighting. Mootise was happy only when he painted pictures. And he painted big, bold, bright pictures. Here is Pigasso. No, this is not Pigasso. This is Mootise. Here is Mootise painting his picture of another bull. And here is Pigasso doing a funky picture of a pig. These are really funky pictures. I wonder if you could make some funky pictures like this. I don't know. In time, word of Pigasso's talent spread through the pig provinces. Soon, art-loving pigs from all over the world lined up to buy his creations. Wow, here they are, lining up to buy his creations. This is a very famous piece, Mommy and Daddy, but we'll talk about that later. At the same time, Mootise was getting famous in the cattle community. There weren't many households that didn't own a mooster piece. A mooster piece, I like that one. Pigasso and Mootise were becoming art superstars. But this came with a price. Everybody wanted to see them. Art buyers, art sellers, art students, art historians, art groupies. It was an art attack. Hey! One day, Pigasso got fed up and just said, I am tired of this noisy pig pen. At the same time, Mootise declared, I am sick of this crowded cow town. Needing a change, they both decided to look for a peaceful place where they could paint without distractions. Where is a peaceful place where you can do work without distractions? So, each of the two artists looked far and wide for the perfect spot. Pigasso found a lovely farm looking towards the east. Mootise found a handsome farm facing the west, east and west. After Picasso moved in, he went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. At the same time, Mootise went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. And that is how Pigasso and Mootise met. And coincidentally, that is how Mootise met Pigasso. At first, Pigasso and Mootise were friendly and they welcomed each other as good neighbors should. But very soon, things began to change. What could possibly change between two neighbors? Ho, 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 let me tell you. It started one day when Pigasso criticized one of Mootise's paintings. Then, Mootise just made fun of one of Pigasso's. Mootise called Pigasso an art hog. And then, Pigasso called Mootise a mad cow. Mootise quipped, You paint like a 2-year-old. Pigasso retorted, well, you paint like a wild beast. Mootise raged, Your colors look like mud. Pigasso spat, Your paintings look like color by numbers. Things got really out of hand. Oh, how do you imagine they got out of hand? Oh my goodness, I see paint flying everywhere. Whoa, ooh, look at this. It was a modern art mess. Have you ever seen anything like this before? We do all the time when school is in session. Pigasso stormed off into his house. You see that Mootise? He doesn't like my art. Well, I'm going to show him. And then Mootise bullied his way into his house. I will give that Pigasso something that he can really criticize, he snorted. Then a full-scale feud erupted, but it was a most unusual battle. Armed with ladders and buckets of paint, Mootise launched the first attack. Have you ever heard of an attack with paint? He started at dawn, and by the end of the evening, he had succeeded in transforming the outside of his house into a monster-sized masterpiece. Not to be outdone, Pigasso fired up his paintbrushes and in full view of the enemy, counterattacked. He turned his farm into a huge and outrageous pork of art. Then the two artists then retreated into their houses and pulled down their shades. Pigasso certainly didn't want to look out his window and stare at a Mootise, and Mootise had no desire to give his rooms a view of a Pigasso. So everybody locked down. Kind of like quarantine. This presented a problem, and there seemed to be only one solution. Without a word to each other, Pigasso and Mootise each began to build a huge wooden fence down the middle of their road. Oh my goodness! At first, Pigasso and Mootise seemed satisfied. Both the artists went back to painting by themselves. But after a while, Pigasso was so surprised to find that he missed that bull-headed Mootise. And at the same time, Mootise found his studio was empty without the presence of that pig-headed Pigasso. Pigasso pondered. That Mootise, he really isn't such a bad artist, you know. He has some interesting ideas. And Mootise moaned, that Pigasso may not paint like me, but he knows what he is doing. However, being naturally pig-headed and bull-headed, neither artist knew how to apologize and say sorry. So they did what they do best. They let their paintbrushes do the talking. Can you see them painting? A lot of time, people use paint and paintbrushes to express how they're feeling. Pigasso painted on one side of the fence and Mootise painted on the other side of the fence. Each worked until they were exhausted. They were so tired. It was strangely quiet when they were done. Kind of like how it is when it's curfew time. Then, curious to see what Mootise had been doing, Pigasso sprinted around to the other side. And at the same time, Mootise galloped over to Pigasso's side. Then, the silence was broken. The two artists began to laugh at their amazing work of art. From that day on, Pigasso and Mootise became the best of friends, and they happily took down the fence and shared their different views. And a few months later, a big museum bought the fence. Pigasso called his side when Pigasso met Mootise, and Mootise called his side when Mootise met Pigasso. The critics called it incredible. Here we are. Colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. And just so you know, this is the true story of Picasso and Matisse. Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. One was French and one was Spanish. Adios.